And if I may refer to what you referred to as the ideals of Ramadan and the somber reflection, would you say across board during the season, especially some of our experiences nationally and some of the national issues, including the very topical one, which is the Boko Haram issue.
Yeah.
Do you think, at this time, the ideals of Ramadan was totally, or at least to a certain level, sustained, upheld across board?
Well, you see, the beauty about Islam, like I said earlier, the essence of Islam is to edify, beautify the intellect. You understand? Because that's the very source of everything. And that's where, that's God's office in man, But you see, the thing here is, if the intellect is not well edified, and the likes you see in Boko Haram and the rest, naturally, man identifies with God, or at least a Godhead. But when there is that passion, that love to serve God, I don't care whatever ramification, Islam, Christianity, and all that, but if you don't have the understanding, because in Islam it says فَعَرِفُونِي قَبْلَ أَن تَعْبُدُونِ وَمَنْ لَمْ يَعْرِفْنِي فَكَيْفَ تَعْبُدُونِ. As in, Allah himself says, know me before you worship me, because if you do not know me, how will you worship me? So when there is that love, that passion to serve God, and you don't know how, then, and you're in a melee of poverty, misguidance, and all those other political issues, things like Boko Haram would come up.
So let me ask the Chief Imam then, Imam Ahmad. Now, when you've heard what a young Muslim is saying, and we're talking about the youth culture, someone in your position will be thinking, how do we handle the next generation of Muslim scholars and practitioners of the Islamic religion? What is in the offing in terms of for the future?
Well, very incidentally, a lot of people have a very narrow and very shallow understanding of what Islam is and what the role of Islam should be in society. I am saying that there is no magic that religious leaders across the divide could on their own do to transform the situation. Islam is a communal and multifaceted, multidisciplinary understanding of the life of man. Man is not just about spirit, he's also about the intellect, he's also about the carnal body. I am saying that we owe a collective responsibility to create an environment where the energy of the youth could be properly channeled. Now look at it this way. The mosque, the church, can only, sermonize and perhaps moralize, preach to people. Now, but there are so many blogs. Now, how do you ask someone who is hungry to be God conscious? How do you ask someone who is jobless to be God conscious? How do you ask someone who is deprived and disadvantaged to be God conscious? How do you ask someone who is daily being fed with things that are antithetical to the development of his spirit, his intellect, and even his body, to live in a utopia of religion? I am saying that it is a great challenge for religious leaders, not only for Muslim religious leaders, but I guess also for even Christian religious leaders. Well, the nature of youth is youthfulness. Rebellion, like he has said, restiveness. A lot of raw energy that needs to be properly channeled, constructively engaged.
So what are we doing for Islamic faithfuls?
Very well, very well. You see, To the best of my knowledge, a lot of Muslim clerics have been on the campaign, for good governance, to address the problem of corruption, which, of course, is core and critical. Of course, we do what we are known for. What we're known for is to preach, to reform. That we're doing very well. And of course, we are engaged in education. For instance, the Ansarudin Society of Nigeria is known with the propagation not only of the religion, but of the value of education. We're educating many generations, educated many generations of Nigerians. Because, come to think of it, without education, not much. Human beings will not be able to attain the destiny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set out for it. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, it is also important to engage the youth within the capacity of our various missions, which unfortunately is very, very limited.
Let me quickly come in here.
All right.
Dr. Mashood Fashola, he's spoken so much about education. At what point does it become, can you touch on radicalization a little bit?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. Like my colleague said, the month of Ramadan is to let youth understand that they have to be less worldly. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Worldliness, materialism can give you temporary enjoyment. Eventually will destroy you, like alcohol and other things. But there's another aspect, and that is the will of God. Man should not be so arrogant and think he knows better than God. What's going on with many youths are like the Boko Haram fanatics, that they think they want to know, they want to put their will, their understanding on top of God. We should try and know God. What does God want? And basically, God is Lord of all creation. No one has a right more than the other. I have right to choose any religion I so desire. So my colleague, my brother. In the same way, I now think that this is the right way, this is wrong. Nobody can dictate what the right way is. What you can do is to impose what you think is right on yourself, not on any other person. So, but basically, God being Lord of all creation, his basic attribute is so frequent in the Quran, is Ar-Rahman, Lord of grace, whose grace knows no bound. So a Muslim is expected to be kind, nice to everybody,
So,
irrespective of
sorry,
religion.
if I may quickly jump in here, I was just thinking that in terms of radicalization, like Adeshewa said, when we look at radicalization, it happens amongst young people most of the time, and is based on what might be a wrong understanding of what Quran has been teaching and what is clearly stated in Quran.
So I'm going for, like he said, I'm going from the point of Islam. But generally, radicalization comes from neglect of the youth and the poor. When there's tremendous corruption, poverty, okay, a lot of youth will be radicalized and they can adopt any teaching.
You know,
They
a
can
couple
postpone,
of,
they will be rebellious.
yeah, a few times. I mean, we've heard over and over that the doctrine for radicalization in the context we're talking about is still the same virtues. It comes from the same Holy Quran that teaches virtues. They claim, though. How then do you address that?
I have a lot of problems here. When I hear people talking about radicalization of youth and they relate it primarily to Islam, indoctrination, I have a lot of problems.
Right.
Look at all the geopolitical zones in this country. You have issues, you have violence, you have restiveness, you have misunderstanding. In the majority of cases, when there are political issues, ethnic issues, economic issues, pure economic issues in predominantly Muslim environments,
Okay.
then it becomes Islamic. If the same dynamics, is observed in a predominantly non-Muslim environment, It is not radicalization. It is not indoctrination. It is not fundamentalism. But then it is just restiveness. Now the point is this. And this is the way I look at it. Sometimes this noble profession is not doing enough in terms of investigative, in-depth, analytical reporting. We're just being fed with what I was taught in school to be deviance, amplification, and the celebration sometimes of ignorance, crudeness, and antisocial behaviors. But you give it a name, you pin it on Islam, or you pin it on any other thing. I want to say that the Quran is very, very clear on the universal brotherhood of man, on neighborliness, on the sanctity of human life, so much so that the Quran says, whoever takes a life unjustly is like the one who has taken the life of the entire, the one who has committed a genocide. So, where is this doctrine? It doesn't matter. People can make claims, but who are these people making claims? If there are people in this country who talk about Islam, and there are people that are not known to us, that they do not have antecedents, all right? We do not know who their teachers are, they have not been involved in the Islamic movement, then we become suspicious that there is a fifth columnist somewhere.
Okay, we have to wrap up now. So, very quickly, Dari, what will be your message, the message of Ramadan to young people in Nigeria, in one or two sentences, because we have to close now.
Yeah, well, the message of Ramadan as a Muslim youth is to, like my elders here have opined, is to go back to the real essence of what Islam is, edification of the intellect. And when the intellect is properly edified and guided, it reforms character.
Okay.
You know, and essentially, I would want us to depart from that intellectual laziness, you know, universally and locally as a community. Universally because at the epoch of change, historically, there's always some conflict, kind of. So the world is witnessing a change globally, and our local setting, because of the top-heavy structure we have, there is restlessness down there. So we shouldn't easily and always find the easiest excuse in terms of religion, especially Islam. So the Muslim youth of today, especially of the other religion, should take the time out to know more about Islam, so that we can better understand each other.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, we will not have enough time to take all of the points, but can I have one sentence from you, Dr. Moshood Fashola? One sentence as a message of Ramadan. Yes.
The message is respect, love, beneficence or charity to fellow man, and under selflessness.
Okay.
Islam requires selflessness.
Okay. Same for the head of mission, Imam.
Well,
one final sentence.
One final sentence. Message of Ramadan, especially for Nigerians at this time, is that religion, the differences in faith, has never been and should never be the basis for conflict between us. The real enemy of Muslims and Christians is bad governance, poverty, and unemployment.
Thank you very much. That's a very powerful message that we'll take on from here. We've been speaking with the head of mission and chief imam of Ansaruddin, Imam Abdul Rahman Ahmed, and also just sitting next to him is Daru, who is a Muslim youth, and then on the other side is Dr. Moshood Fashola, who's head Ahmadiyya in Nigeria. Thank you very much, sirs, and great to have you here. Eid Mubarak, and I guess the celebration goes on until we go back to work on Monday.
I guess so.